And we're live. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the Mojo Show, your real estate podcast where we talk everything real estate. I'm your host, Joe Mortgage.
And I'm Cup of Joe Mortgage.
And this week's episode, as we debuted it the other day, is going to be focused on the 2024 housing market. Joe and I giving our viewpoints on it and how to prepare for the market ahead this year if you are looking at purchasing a home. But before we get into that, it is a new year. Happy New Year to you, Joe.
Happy New Year, Joe. It's good to see you're finally back up and running a little bit. I know you've been down and out with another sickness that hit you. Was it the flu this time, or just kind of the crud that's going around everywhere?
Maybe a combination of all of it. It really hit me. I mean, I feel like I've been sick for the past 2 months. I had COVID, through November and part of December, and was good for about 2 weeks, and then came down with this. And at first, I thought I had strep throat, and then I thought I had pneumonia and something else. And the doctors couldn't even decide what it was, and they just kind of labeled it some acute bronchitis thing, and still have a little bit of a cough. Hopefully it doesn't come out on today's episode as I try to sip my coffee and keep my throat warm. But
I'll do my best to make you. I'll do my best to make you laugh. So, that always helps coughing, right? So
leave it up to you to do that. Thanks, buddy.
You brought up New Year's resolutions. I don't know your thoughts on them as much. We haven't talked about it, but that is something that it cracks me up sometimes. Like, I'll make these New Year's resolutions and January 2nd, I'm like, oh, I really want that Coke, or I want that Dr. Pepper. so I gave up making those stupid ones. And, I don't know if you with you being sick and stuff, you kind of missed the coffee roundtable. And I know not everybody knows what the coffee roundtable is. So, on our coffee roundtable, we every Tuesday at 8:00 as a company, as a branch, we get together, and it's just a talk. And Josh Reed, which does a great job at running these coffee roundtables. And I've had realtors asking us now if they can start joining them. But Josh asked, what is your word of the year? And I really thought about that, and kind of just I know we have other things to talk about. Since it's just you and I today, we're going to kind of go off script a little bit. Yeah. But, I started thinking about, word of the year, like one that you're going to hold on to all year. And then today I come in and Shelly, love her to death, she goes, hey, what's the word of the day? I was like, no, we don't have a word of the day. It was, what's your word of the year? And, I started thinking about, some people said, intention, some people said organization, things like that. And I was like, that's all great. I came up, mine's dominate. And it's dominate in my health this year. It's going to be dominate in my relationships with friends and family, and it's going to be dominating and getting over the stuff maybe that was holding me back. Okay. My own attitude, my own mental health, and my own, giving up on myself. I'm going to dominate not doing that stuff. And, so you can use it in different ways. But, I'd like to hear kind of, if you could think of a word, I'd like to know what that word might be for you for 2024.
Yeah. For me, I think it would actually come down to two different words, right? One is perseverance, and the other is growth. Right? Okay. I moved here 6 months ago and still, rebuilding my business, if you will. So the growth of that over 2024 is going to be huge for me. That I'm looking at, and the perseverance and really grinding it out. I mean, I think all of us, anyone that's tuning in right now, you're in real estate or mortgages or in that field that we all are in, right? I think perseverance was 2023. It was kind of a tough year for us. And there's things I definitely need to work on and grow and persevere in growing my business, but also myself personally. I need to get back to my health, because obviously the past 2 months has not been very stellar. I'm one of those that I eat good, believe it or
Yeah.
not. I'm
Well,
not like our fearless leader that eats Taco Bell all the time.
yeah. But he ran 500 miles last year. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not us.
Uh,
But that's people that are listening. I'd love to in the comments put what word is that you're focusing on this year.
Good one.
Just so that way we can we can share some of that. But going into 2024, things are going to change, right?
Yep.
The Fed was talking about, in 2024, they're going to make some cuts and, do some things to the rates, and that really sparked some good movement on the market for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to see what that's going to be like over 2024. And I think people, are still getting it in their heads that, they're going to drop the rates. It's the best thing that we can wait and stuff like that. And we'll get into that on this call, on this, topic today. But, when is the Fed going to be cutting it? Now that it's an election year, I think my thoughts are on the Fed cutting the rates. They gave that teaser, which I love teasers. But, at the end of the day, I don't see a cut coming for probably at least 4 months from now. I see it maybe being in April. That they might do the first cut. It's all going to depend on what the numbers show. I mean, what is your thoughts on when you think the first cut might come? And
you asking me or the audience?
I'm asking the audience too, but I'm asking you because, until they comment, but if the audience wants to put in there too, we'll kind of bring that up.
I don't know. I'm thinking, personally, Grant, who knows what the Fed is going to do, right? I mean, to predict that is kind of difficult. But I'm thinking personally, it's probably going to be March when they make the first cut.
Okay.
And I'm curious if they are only going to do 3 cuts for the year. I mean, we've got an election year coming, right? So I'm kind of curious to see as far as if they're going to do 4 cuts or not. I mean, they're predicting that they possibly will make 3 cuts for this year.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious to see, if that holds true, if it's going to be 4, or if they're going to stick to 3. And it's correct me if I'm wrong, John. I think they were saying that it's like a quarter point each time, not like half, but
yeah, they're going to keep them kind of small. But again, even if the Fed cuts it, and viewers and anybody listening to the podcast, you need to understand that does not directly lower the interest rates that we can provide.
Right.
What it does is it gets interest in people buying back into the 10-year treasury, buying bonds. And when people are buying bonds, that's what helps us on getting better on interest rates. So when the Fed cuts it, that just helps spark interest of people, securing their investments in, mortgage-backed securities. And when they do that, that's what helps Joe and I really get the better pricing for the interest rates. And that's what will help us in our industry. But, there is no guarantee to it either. And that's what people need to understand is waiting for that to happen doesn't mean if they cut it a quarter, all of a sudden we're a quarter better. I mean, it could be that we stay the same, but it could be that we're a half better, right? That's what we're hoping for.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I remember on our last live podcast, we were talking a little bit about this. And I remember stating that the 10-year treasury note finally just went under 4%. It's been a long time since it's been under 4%. Now it's back up above. I think it's like 4.08 or something. So now it's back up above. So like you were saying, before earlier, that it was great when that announcement came out. It was good for the market for a few days. Right? And
right.
We're kind of, getting that little roller coaster, little ups and downs here and there, especially through the holidays.
Yeah. I mean, and I talk to my realtors all the time, and one of the things they still are talking about is the inventory of housing. That is another thing that will help and hurt us when it comes to what we can do.
Yep.
If we keep it to where it's getting better. There's houses that are staying on the market longer now, right? We want that average on market. And I know sellers don't want to hear this, right? But you want that average to be around 2 months, not 2 months, excuse me, over a month, just because that helps people that are buying not be in big bidding wars. And I think that's a couple of the things that, people don't think about is, rates are down, great. But, when the inventory is low, it doesn't, more people are going after that same home.
Yeah.
And so we've got to do a better job. And I know builders are out there building, but they've kind of slowed some of their building too. But we've got to do a better job at helping our buyers understand, what kind of homes and what locations that they're looking in and how much is actually available. And real estate agents, if you're not using a real estate agent, I would dare you to meet me face to face and explain to me why you wouldn't be using a real estate agent in this market, because they know how to negotiate. I mean, they know how to negotiate. They know how to take care of you. And if your real estate agent isn't doing that, please let us know, because we'll get you with the ones that will.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I would say is, we need that housing inventory to go up some more. And I think when people start, realizing 2023 is over, we're starting to see people put, their homes on the market. I know my neighbor's house is on the market, and I think they had 9 showings already this year.
Wow.
And we're 10 days into the year, right? So, people were going there New Year's Day. And, because she was like, hey, I got to get out of the house. I was like, all right, I'll just be over here if you need me for anything. So that, that's a great thing also what's going on as people are getting interested again.
With the inventory and that, I was talking with someone yesterday. I was at a broker open house yesterday here in Montgomery area. And I was talking to a gentleman. I don't know if he's on today watching. He said he might pop on and view us. If you are, pop comments down at the bottom, everyone, by the way. If you do have comments or questions, questions, feel free to put them in the comment section down below, and we'll definitely get to them. But I was talking with him yesterday, and he kind of sheepishly admitted to me that he bought a house a year ago. And I'm like, what's wrong with that? That's great. I mean, that was a great time to buy a house, just like it is today. He's like, well, the wife wanted it so bad, and I just wanted to wait. I'm like, no. Do you understand that if you were to buy that same house today, how much more you would be paying for that house because of the the value going up in the house? I said, now think about later this year, as long as if rates do start coming down, think of what's going to happen to the market. I'll bet anything when you put your offer in a year ago, you probably didn't have any competition. He's like, I had one other person that was putting an offer in, and you beat them, didn't you? You didn't, whether it was concessions or not, you didn't go over the price, did you? He's like, no. Yeah, exactly. Now, when rates go down, everybody's going to be flooding into the market trying to bid on that one house. That $400,000 house today, now you're going to be, 430, 440. Right. And you may even, that's the list price, right? And you may have to go above that.
Right. Well, we had your friend on right before Christmas, right? The agent, and he was talking
Aaron.
about that. Yeah, Aaron, and he was talking about that. Rogers, that's right.
Yeah.
Aaron Rogers. He was talking a lot about why now is still the great time to buy. And, the one thing is, investors always come up with different ways to try to lower people's rates. Yeah. We have ways of getting FHA and VA loans refinanced right now on Streamlines and IRRRLs to try to drop their rates if it makes sense, right? So, why pay $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more for the house in 6 months that you could buy today, when you can write off the interest on your taxes? So it's just going to help you a little bit more there against your income. But then when rates do get down 1% lower than where you're currently at, we're going to be talking to you, especially somebody like you and I, where we care about our clients. We have relationships with them. It's not a transaction. It's a relationship. Yep. We're going to be giving them updates. We're going to be doing reviews on 6 months. And that's when you can decide, is it smart to lower those payments, or is it not the time yet? But buying now with a great real estate agent is what I would recommend for people. Get back out on the market. Our inventory needs to go up, so if you're looking to sell and upgrade, or you're looking to sell and downsize, it's a great time for you.
I don't know if you caught it last week, but there was a line that Aaron Rodgers had said, and I picked up on it right away. I loved it. What he said, the mortgage when you purchase your home, the mortgage that you have is not going to be the mortgage that you'll have when you pay it off.
100%.
It was perfectly said. It's just, the mortgage that you buy a house today and the mortgage that you have, that's not going to be the mortgage that you'll have when you pay it off. So, as rates come down, yes, refinance, but get into it now. Right now is the best time to buy, because this is the lowest, the cheapest that house that you want. It's the cheapest that house is going to be today.
Now, the cons against buying today, because, everybody's like, oh, you only talk about the positives. Well, okay, here's the negatives. Okay. Your rate's going to be a little higher. It means that the house that you want to buy, in today's market, is, you might have a little higher payment, or you might not have the 5,000 square foot home, which, I don't have that and I don't want it, but, you might have to look at what is better for your budget. But guess what? The rates are lower, and now that house is $50,000 more, because now you're in a bidding war and you have to come out of cash out of pocket for that. Well, your payments are going to be higher then too. So, get in now, is the better way to look at it. The other cons to me, is you can wait for anything. And my wife always says it. She goes with her gut, and her gut doesn't let her down. And I agree with her. I don't go with my gut, because I've done that too many times, and she yells at me. So I decided not to do it anymore. But the paying rent, 6 months more of rent, or 10 more months of rent, that does nothing for you besides just keeping a roof over your head.
Yeah, you're paying somebody else's mortgage on that. Not your own, I've got, it might be a little, I know we were going to get to this. Maybe it's a little bit early. Do you mind if I pop up I put some numbers together for everybody, because as we talk about these things, to be able to put it in more black and white of what we're talking about may help illustrate this some, right?
Right.
So let me see if I can, I'm not too technically sound. So
if you're viewing right now, Joe and I are not I can't even say it, technology savvy. So, bear with us when we're doing this.
If I freeze on this and I have to reboot my computer, I apologize right up front. Okay.
Well, then they get to listen to just me. That's awesome.
Oh, here we go. Yes. All right. So I put this up. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit for everybody. Oh,
there we go.
And do a little slide over. Here we go. And there. Okay. So here's what I did for this. I took some numbers as far as a 30-year mortgage right now. I know this says 6.5 right here. I do apologize. I didn't edit that correctly. It should say 7.5 for an interest rate is what I put on this, right? So I was very conservative, right? I want to be conservative with these numbers. I don't want to try to, shortcut them or anything. For instance, using a home value of 400,000 over the numbers that I have here to the right, as far as a 6 month or a 1 year wait, in regards to a 2.4% increase and a 4.8%. Here's what I did. So Fannie Mae it had projected so the numbers that came out in December showed from October 2023, no, I apologize, October 2022 to October 2023 was a 4.8% home value increase.
And that's for the whole United States, or is that just Texas?
Yep.
For the whole United States, right?
Yep. That's an average throughout the whole United States. So some states might be a little bit more, maybe 4.9 or 4.6, whatever. But as an average, 4.8 throughout the United States. So I took it as, okay, let's drop that in half, 2.4, right, for 6 months, and the full 4.8 for the 12 months, right? So for a home that you're going to purchase of 400,000, well, if you wait 6 months, that home value, now you're looking at almost 410,000 is going to be the list price instead of 400. And if you wait 1 year, well, it's almost 420,000, the list price.
Right.
But what's that going to do? Trickle down effect as far as the numbers. Well, if you put 10% down today, well, we'll say a year ago, right? You would put 40,000 down. Waiting 6 months, well, not too bad, only about $1,000 more. Waiting a year, almost $2,000 more. Well, most people are probably going to hem and haw and say, that's not bad. I'll take that for waiting. I mean, I can save that money up in 6 months or 12 months. I agree. But look at what it did to your loan amount. So this ended up jumping $9,000 in 6 months, ended up jumping $17,000, your loan amount.
Right.
Because again, you're only putting 10% down, the value of the home rose, right? But let's say that, we'll take this a step further. Let's say that, again, 7.5 for your interest rate. Wait 6 months, maybe it comes down 0.5% to 7%. And a year, maybe a full percent, it comes down to 6.5%. What's that going to do to the monthly payment? Let's take a look and see. So I'm going to scroll this down a little bit so we can see that at a 7.5% interest rate, just the principal and interest on a 30-year mortgage, $2,406. If you waited 6 months and got that lower interest rate, well, you're only going to save $53 a month. And if you wait a year, you're going to save $121 a month, right? However, what you lost was in 6 months, you lost $9,600 in appreciation of the home because you're building equity in that home.
Right.
And over a year, $19,000 you lost of equity in your home. That's building wealth, folks. That's what we're talking about, building wealth. Okay. Now, if you're a first-time home buyer, I was conservative and said, for a $400,000 home, let's say you rented it for $2,000 a month.
That's way conservative in certain areas.
Yeah, I probably should have bumped it up to $2,600 or $3,000, right? I was very conservative. Okay, so that's $12,000 in 6 months that you have spent, and in a year, that's $24,000 that you have spent. Yeah. If it's only $2,000 a month. Now we add these up together, and in 6 months, well, you lost $21,600 because of the appreciation in the home and the rent that you spent, $21,000.
Yeah.
And in a year, $43,000, just over $43,000 that's lost.
Right. And this is great information because, what you're showing is just because people look at that, how much more am I bringing? And it's only $1,920, right? If they would have waited in that first slide, but you lost $43,000
right.
in wealth. And, one, rent, and then two, just the house's, loss in appreciation. But you're doing this on, a United States appreciation.
Yes.
State of Texas, I think some areas are well over 10, 15% in appreciation. Mm-hmm. So if you take those into account, it just, skyrockets, and it skyrockets quickly in 12 months. Mm-hmm. And I know in our area, you can find houses around that 2,000, but if you're in certain school districts and things like that, you're $3,000 a month to rent a house. Mm-hmm. And that's not cheap. And, that's, it's just something that's big. We actually have a comment. Excellent.
Let's take a look and see.
Okay. Here. It says, do either of you see another 2010 housing market fall? This is from Eric McLeod. Eric, the nice thing about this is I was in the mortgage industry when the housing fall happened in 2007-8. In 2010 it started to come back some, but yes, I know what you're talking about. Do I think it's actually going to happen again? There's so many different factors right now that lead us to know that the housing price fall that happened back then, it's not likely. One reason, in my opinion, is in 2006 and 2007, they were building like crazy. You had spec homes on there. You had people going after, and then you had, people bidding wars on new builds, especially in certain states. Arizona is where I lived at that time. I am from Texas, but I lived in Arizona, and in Arizona was one of the hardest hits when it came to the fall of the values of homes, along with Florida and California.
Yeah.
So that's one reason you don't have the builders doing that as much right now, and you don't have the homes on the market. The reason number two that I don't think it'll happen is back in those days, we had what was called negative amortization loans.
There you go.
You had
Exactly.
pick a payment loans.
Exactly.
Where people started buying houses with, not showing their income, not showing their true assets. And then they had three different options on making a payment. I think some of them had four, where you had a minimum payment, like a credit card, where, it doesn't even cover all of the interest, which on your credit card, it does. But on a pick a payment, it didn't. It was the minimum payment that they would allow. So any of the interest that was not covered tacked onto your principal balance, and then you had your interest only, you had your 30-year and you had your 15-year. But a lot of people were only making that minimum. Well, what that did is you have interest being tacked onto your principal every month. Well, guess what? Your house is not appreciating at the same rate as what the interest rates were being tacked on, because you weren't making your full interest only payment. So those products are no longer available, which thank you regulations for one thing that you did right. So that, those loans, you don't have as many people that are upside down on their houses as you did then, just from not making their full payment. And then the third reason, in my opinion, is we have smarter investors now. When it comes to the type of loans, when it comes to watching what's going on in the economy, I think that is what will help us also from not hitting the housing fall. Rates can go up, but in Texas, even during the fall, it still appreciated some, which is better than a lot of other states. So, Joe, I don't know if I took all the time on that one, but I'll let you chime in. But those are my 3 points.
I was going right where you were with it all, especially with how, regulations have tightened so much in qualifying people for mortgages. Before it was just, if you had a pulse, you could get a mortgage, right? And that's not the way it is today. We've really, thankfully, have beefed up the regulations, in qualifying someone. You and I both come across people that, we want to get them qualified, but just because of the numbers and everything, we can't get them qualified. But of course, we, try to set them up with a plan. So in 6 months, 12 months, we're ready to go. But, people aren't being easily qualified as they were back then. Right. It was so easy. You really didn't have to verify income. Nothing was really verified except that you had, legal name and social security number. Right. So those things are not in place anymore. I don't see that happening. We're not set up the way that we were back then for something like that to happen. And quite honestly, I know we're kind of, running a little long today, but the way the housing was set up then compared to now is totally different. As you were saying, as far as spec homes being built, that was probably one of the best jobs you could get is construction back then, right? People were always looking for people to do construction work because of how much was needed to be built back then. We don't have that today, Right. So we're in a totally different situation, definitely with that. But let me see if I can pop us back to. Oh, hey, there we are. Eric, thank you so much for the comments. I know we're going to be starting to wrap things up here a little bit, but if you do have any other questions, comments, please pop them down below there, and we'd be more than happy to answer them to be able to get to. As we kind of get to some of our final thoughts here, Joe, the year ahead, what advice would you give people who are looking to buy or purchase a home this year?
So, the same thing that I said earlier. One, make sure you have an agent. You need a real estate agent that's going to take care of you, be able to answer questions, but also that is paired up with a trusted lender. I've got plenty of agents that trust me, and it's just a triangle of trust, which is awesome because I know they're going to take care of our clients, and I'm going to give the information. And they like me to answer any of the financing stuff, so they kind of just stay out of that. So I'd say work with an agent, get a good one that has trusted, lender. And if they're giving you 3 lenders, ask them which one is the one that they trust the most.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good information. I think if I was to give any advice to people, I would say, especially for first-time home buyers, I will tell you there are we've got several different down payment assistance programs, different programs for first-time home buyers to help you. Because I know, in the past year or two, the economy has been tight to where you probably haven't been able to save, the amount of money that you would want to. I remember back when I bought my first home that I didn't think I could do it. I really didn't. And until I looked into it and talked to a mortgage person, I finally, they showed me that I could do it. And I couldn't believe it at first, and sure enough, I ended up buying my first home. Unbelievable. And it was the best thing I ever did. So if you're a first time home buyer, reach out to a mortgage professional like Joe or I, and just find out, what is available to you. Put a plan together so that you can start building your own wealth. And the second point I would say is the same thing that Joe said, is get with a realtor. That realtor is your advocate and is going to help you so much. Go to seminars, by the way. Go to seminars that are doing like first time home buyer seminars, stuff like that. Start learning these things and ask questions. And if you have questions after the show or anything, feel free to reach out to us. We do have our email that you can send to the Mojo Show podcast at gmail.com. You're more than welcome to send us questions. Be more than happy to help you with any of it, guide you, answer questions, because you're probably going to get a lot of information from other people that is going to just be too much, right? And so you need to kind of be able to sift through it, help someone to help you do that. And that's what Joe and I are here for. So,
well, like you said, we're going a little long today, and it always happens, right? We always think, okay, well, how are we going to fill 30 minutes? And today it was an awesome one. We got to go back and forth. But one thing I would tell everybody is next week we're starting a 6-week series, 6-episode series, not 6 weeks. So, I guess it is 6 weeks because we do one episode a week. So we have a series that we're going to be doing over the, it's called PAPCAR. And, I'm not going to go into it right now, but next week we have a special guest, Josh Reed. He's one of our branch leaders here at NXT Mortgage. Josh is our director of engagement. He is awesome at, helping people understand where to start, how to find business, how to get, people to talk to. So, the first P of PAPCAR, I'm going to share that one because we're going to be talking about prospecting, how to prospect, where to find it. And we're going to have special guest Josh Reed on to really bring that home and help realtors and loan originators. This show is not just for real estate agents. It's for anything real estate. So, Joe, that's the special guest I can bring for us. So.
Awesome. So looking forward to it. You're right, that PAPCAR over the next 6 weeks that we'll be covering. So looking forward to this. If, like you said, if you're a realtor, tune in next week. If you're a mortgage loan officer, tune in next week. Matter of fact, I would say PAPCAR can be used in any type of sales environment, industry that you are in. PAPCAR is the key. So tune in next week as we start this series. I think it'll be fantastic, especially having Josh Reed on. He is awesome at this, and the way he verbalizes and lays this out is so eloquent. It'll be a great show. I know it is. Really looking forward to it. Any last words, Joe, before we sign off?
No, thank you very much for anybody that tuned in today, and share our information, get people to come see us more.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you. Absolutely. And listening, tuning in today. Please like, follow, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel, especially. Again, any questions, you can email us at the Mojo Show podcast at gmail.com. And with that, I'm Joe Mortgage, and that handsome guy over there with the beard is Cup Joe Mortgage, and we'll see you next week.
Mr.